You guys can wave at the camera. What is toxic, yet clean? What can be used as a weapon, yet may be able to bring peace? I'm here today to inform you about nuclear energy. I've learned about this topic through my sustainability minor, but I've learned the most through my extensive research. Countries and people today have a lot of differing views on nuclear energy. Researcher Van Heck found in 2007 that France uses 80% of their energy from nuclear, while Germany has plans to shut down every single reactor they have built. Although you may not be involved with nuclear directly, it's still going to be a part of our future. And I want you to have the information you need in order to make educated decisions when voting or discussing the topics of nuclear energy. I will first go over the basic history of nuclear energy and how a reactor works, then some of the advantages like clean air, and finally some of the disadvantages like costs. Let's first start with the basic history of nuclear energy. According to the World Nuclear Association, in the early 1900s, there was a lot of experimenting and research going on with atoms. Then, bang, in World War II, we saw the devastating use of nuclear energy for bombs that left cities flattened. After the war, there came the rise of nuclear power plants all around the world, with many facilities popping up. Today, about 10% of the world's energy comes from nuclear, according to Columbia's Climate School. Now to explain how a nuclear reactor works. Essentially, it's very similar to the way coal and oil plants work, in that the reactor heats up water, which turns into steam. That steam turns a turbine, which generates our electricity. That steam is cooled back into water to go back into the reactor and start the process all over again. However, nuclear reactors are different than lighting a fuel on fire for fuel, in that it uses nuclear fission, which I will use this diagram to help you show what goes on inside a reactor. So neutrons are sent into the reactor. Those neutrons hit uranium atoms. When the neutron hits the uranium atom, the atom splits. That split results in two things: a release of heat energy and a release of 3 other neutrons. The heat energy is what's used to heat the water, which creates steam, which spins our turbines and generates electricity. These extra 3 neutrons can go and collide with other uranium atoms, which cause them to split in a chain reaction. If the reaction continues too fast, then there would be a meltdown or an explosion. So nuclear reactor facilities have rods, which act as like a control to prevent that explosion. I find it fascinating that we can use tiny atoms in order to power thousands of light bulbs. So let's look at some of the advantages of nuclear energy. Although when you see a nuclear power plant, you might be disgusted by the tons of clouds being pumped into the air, it's just steam and water, which is completely harmless to our environment. With carbon emissions at the forefront issue of our future, nuclear energy is a clean alternative to burning fossil fuels. According to energy.gov, 500 million metric tons of carbon are saved each year by using our current nuclear plant facilities. Now, I know that number does not really make any sense, so as a comparison, that's like removing 100 million cars from our road today. Another advantage to nuclear energy is that it's reliable and central. So I'm going to compare it to the other forms of clean energy, like wind and solar. In solar energy, we don't have the sun all the time. And with wind energy, wind does not blow all the time. However, with nuclear energy, it provides us with power 24/7. Additionally, research by Strata in 2017 said that solar requires 3 times the land area, and wind requires 6 times the land area compared to what's needed for nuclear energy. Now, let's look at some of the disadvantages of nuclear energy. The first big disadvantage that people are worried about is a reactor meltdown, which results in the release of toxic chemicals. However, I want to focus on something that's a little less known, which is the prevalence of old technology. Columbia professors in 2018 said that 50% of our current nuclear plants today in the US are over 30 years old. With so much old technology, we rely on old security measures. Additionally, this old technology prevents us from building new reactors. It becomes very expensive. It's like being told to build a flat screen TV with the instructions for a box TV. You have to spend a lot of time and money on research and finding the new techniques. Additionally, another disadvantage of nuclear energy is that it's very expensive. The World Nuclear Status Report says that nuclear energy costs two to three times more than solar and wind. And a few years ago, the high upfront costs caused a major issue. In Jenkinsville, South Carolina, $9 billion was splashed on a project that today has nothing to show for because it was abandoned due to mismanagement. Families are still paying for that cost today. To wrap up what we have gone through, we looked at a brief history and summary of how a reactor works. We looked at advantages like clean air, reliability, and less use of land. And finally, we looked at the disadvantages of nuclear energy, such as high cost and old technology. The next time you have a nuclear conversation, you have all the information you need to be empowered. Thank you. This is my citations, and I would like to open up the floor for 2 minutes of questions.
Do you see countries such as Germany or like America taking up like technique that France did with their energy being like 90% nuclear?
Right. So France still uses a lot of their old technology. So they're still using their World War II nuclear power plant developments in their technology. They just chose to continue to rely on it. I think the U.S. is getting some government funding, but with the recent catastrophe in South Carolina, there's a lot of like civilian hesitancy on like investing in such an expensive project. Yes.
You mentioned cost as a disadvantage. Why is it so expensive right now?
So nuclear energy is expensive due to two reasons, which is the first is the research and development aspect, and that because we rely on old instructions to build new modern facilities, we have to spend billions of dollars on research. Additionally, nuclear is obviously very risky because the reactions can cause explosions and it's dangerous to our civilians and the workers. So there's a lot of legal fees and regulations that companies have to comply with, which adds to a lot of cost. Any other questions?